Hey guys,
I'm Hallee,
and I'm Jamie.
and this is Literal Nonsense.
Hey guys, welcome back to Literal Nonsense Podcast. We are fucking miserable. So as you guys know, last week we could not publish our episode because I don't know what happened. Lots of technical things I don't understand. Hallie's better at explaining it. Basically, the recording studio that we use saves video and audio separately. So therefore, it was like you just heard us talking, and then like a second later heard the echo of us talking again, and it was just like we simply couldn't publish it.
Like the audio files were not syncing because
with the video.
Yeah, because they save the audio and the audio save as different files. So, we did a lot of research, and apparently this is a problem that many people have. So we're trying to work through it. So in the meantime,
no video. And in the meantime, so then once we also realized too, when we get to be like legit podcasters, right? We can like have one camera on us, have a cute little studio, have better mics, all this stuff, but we're not like just like spending thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So get us big and then we'll give you better content. Okay? Okay. Yeah, so basically what happened, yeah, right. Basically what happened last time, we recorded 30 minutes. I thought that it sounded weird, so I stopped it. We did it. It was. We did it again.
So we had a mental breakdown, and then we're like, okay, we gotta do it again.
We did it all again.
The whole thing.
And then it was weird.
20 minutes, and it was all
weird. But I do think, honestly, like looking back, I think we were so low energy because we were like so upset.
For sure.
So maybe we'll try to rein it in today. Wow. And it just means that ACOTAR simply doesn't want us to go away.
You think?
It's holding us.
Well, I'm fucking tired of it.
I hate these books.
I hate these books now. I don't ever want to hear about Farrah, Bryson, Nesta, like SJM. I hope you never write another fucking book. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
And it's so funny. It's like one setback, and we're like, we're done. So yeah, damn. Okay, so this week it is episode 10. We are finishing up. I really hope so. A Court of Silver Flames. It is pages 412 to 751, chapters 40 through 80. Yay. Okay, let's get going. We're going to try it out. Holy shit. Okay, so we start off with, Nesta still training. She's still learning mind stilling where we ended last episode, which feels like so long ago. And she's basically just working in the library. She's doing her thing. And so Cassian decides it's time for the girls to learn swordplay, like hand-to-hand combat with swords. And he's like, cool, Nesta, I'm going to bring you to the blacksmith so you can like appreciate and learn how to make a sword and how this goes. So now when she's there, she hammers 3 different weapons, a sword, a greatsword, and a dagger. And Cassian's like, damn, my girl is thriving. She's hammering them. She's like smiling a little. She's really just putting her all into these fucking weapons. Badass. Way to go. Yes. So that's where we start off this part of the book.
That was just like so abrupt. And that's where we start this part of the book. And then she looks at me.
I'm brain dead. I'm done. Oh, God.
So, as Jamie said, they're learning how to fight with swords, hand-to-hand combat. They're not doing any flexing and stretching anymore. They're nitty-gritty.
Nitty-gritty.
And Nesta's like beating up this block of wood, and it turns into cinders.
Yeah.
And Lucian's there, and he sees this, and he's like, oh boy. He's like, good luck to all of you.
Right.
It's like a bad sign.
He literally was like, cauldron spare you all. And Cassian's like, shut the fuck up. And he's like, you don't know what you're talking about. You literally just pop in and now you're being annoying. It's also really funny. I'm just thinking as we're talking, it's crazy how much of this book, you'd think we'd remember it by recording it 3 times. No idea what's going on. I do. I think I'm traumatized. I'm blocking it out.
It's like in SpongeBob when the person asks for his name. He's like, what's his name? There's like the little SpongeBob in his brain.
Oh yeah.
Trying to find his name in like filing cabinets.
Yeah, that's episode 10. Yeah. Episode 10 is in the depth of the filing cabinets. Holy shit. And so Jesus. And so now Helion comes because remember from last episode, they wanted to contact Helion because they were like, okay, we need him to see what's up with these Autumn Court prisoners. Something's wrong with them. He's aware of all these spells and stuff. Remember, he's Helion spell cleaver, so good guy to contact. And so they're like, hey, what's wrong with them? Like, what spell are they under? So while Helion's on his way, they mention the prison, which is interesting. Want to point it out because I am a slut for the prison and all of the things I think. Yeah.
Conspiracy.
Oh my God. Eighth Court conspiracy. So real. I'm into it. Okay. So it says, according to legend, okay, first of all, because Helion, of course, rides on a Pegasus because he is just that guy. So that's relevant. Iconic. So according to legend, the Pegasuses, I feel like it should be Pegasi, but I digress, had come from the island the prison sat upon, had once fed in fair meadows that had long given way to moss and mist. Okay, literally, so clearly there was something else there if all these Pegasuses were living and thriving there. Also, not gonna lie, Pegasuses, I hate this word, sound very Dusk Court to me.
Yeah.
Gives me a vibe. Super.
And they also mention in the book too that like the Pegasuses have been like dying off. Like they've been getting like lower and lower in number.
Right, because their court is now full of scumbags. They're like, oh, just kill us.
Old gods.
Right. They're like, God damn. Yeah. So super interesting. I think it's relevant. I think it's gonna be a thing. I mention it so much because I'm just like, you
Jamie's
can't convince
waiting
me.
for the day that all this is confirmed so she can come on here and be like, I fucking told every single one of you.
You know, I'm so excited. And so yeah. And so while Helion's there, he's like, hey guys, there's no enchantment on them. They're not under any spell, but you are right. There is like a mist in their mind and their minds are not their own. Like, I don't know what this is. It's not a spell, but like something's up. And then
they're like in a haze.
Yeah, like there's like a fog in their mind. It's like swaying them. Yeah. And so Pharaoh's like, oh, guys, it's the crown from the Dread Trove. Like, duh. Like, it's mind control. And they're all like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So we now learn that the Autumn Court soldiers are under mind control because Braylon has the crown from the Dread Trove. So, of course, we found them in the bog of Orid because they were looking for the mask as well. So, you know, she was getting close. So thank God Nesta went there and just snatched it up because if not, like, oof, brutal. Not good.
Really would have turned the tide of this.
Yes. And so while Helion's there, he also helps Nesta ward the mask into a room. Nesta literally tells him, like, don't tell me how to unlock it because she feels the sway of the power, kind of like how Feyre with the cauldron, like it overtakes them. Yeah. She's like, I don't even want to be like tempted, quote unquote. So help me lock it away. Don't tell me how to get to it. So Helion helps her do that. So Helion, super productive. Thank you for coming, Helion. We love you. Big Helion fans. Yay, woo! Yeah, Helion.
So let's dive a little bit into Nesta and Cassian.
Oh, I miss them. I miss them. Nothing else.
They're all right. So Nesta asked Cassian if the last time they had sex it was bad because he like ran out of the room after. But he did that because she told him like this isn't nothing serious. Like,
right.
It's just sex. So he's doing essentially what you asked. But now you're like, oh, like, come on, let's get it together, girly. But there's just like even more sexual tension in this whole conversation. And guess what? They end up having sex.
Shocker.
And he says something like, hold on tight.
Oh, yeah. Like, hold on to the headboard.
Yeah.
I love him more than anything, but
you need to like calm down, buddy.
Yeah.
This isn't a roller coaster. You are
I just think
female.
I don't doubt that holding the headboard is like a thing that she needs to do with him, right? Uh-huh. But I feel as though saying it like before it even happens,
it's corny.
It's icky. I'm like, okay, like fucking relax. I would literally fucking bash my head against the headboard just to not hold it to prove a fucking point. Like I'd like fucking calm your ego. I'd be like, shut the fuck up. Relax.
You know what? How about you hold on tight?
Yeah, exactly. Like, the male ego is just such a thing.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like Oh my god, I said this last episode and I almost forgot. Who would I be if I forgot this? So it also gives me very much Twilight, hold on tight, Spider Monkey, which I love that quote. But that also because he said Spider Monkey.
Rent free.
Yeah, right. Like my two favorite guys. Telling everyone to hold on tight. But that one was funny because it was like Spider Monkey and they were like, ooh, let's climb this tree. Whatever.
Yeah.
This is like E.
Yeah. Like kind of medievally fantasy book. Like
It's just about it in sex, so I'm just like, you're gross for that. I'm surprised you didn't turn around and be like, fuck you. Whatever. So yeah. So I do like a big brolic gym bro, but at the same time brolic. Like a big brolic man.
Is that like
It's a term.
Is that a word?
Yeah, it is. I'll look up the definition for you.
I've never heard of this word before.
Brolic?
I've heard of brawly.
What?
Isn't that the word? Oh, burly.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm confused.
Define brolic. Slang word. Oh, it's a slang word describing someone with well-developed muscles.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. You're a brolic bro. God,
help. New word to add to my dictionary.
Right, amazing. Okay, good. So whatever. So after Cassian's just such a gym bro, Reese calls Cassian down to the house because he's like, now you need to like get to business. Thanks, Cass. Yeah, and he's like, aye, Captain. And so he walks in and and Reese has the 3 blades that Nesta made like on the table. And he's like, hey, where did you get those? Like, why do you have them? And so
this isn't weird at all.
Right. And so Reese is like, hey, so she accidentally made new objects of power. And so Amren's there because every time that like something like this happens, Amren is just always there.
Well, they console her because she's like the only one who knows of these like otherworldly things.
Right. And so basically Amren gives us a little history lesson, and she says that no one's been able to create a magic sword in more than 10,000 years. The last one made, the great blade Gwydion, vanished around the time the last of the trove went missing. So it's going to be very important. Gwydion's going to be very important as we talk in future episodes, so keep that blade in mind. Also interesting that all these things vanished around the time the trove went missing. Again, we know that there was probably a 4th object in the trove. There's been hints of it, so we want to keep that in mind as well.
The harp.
Right. And so...
Or the horn.
The horn, yes. The harp is part of the trove too, though, so yeah. And so then Amren tells us that Gwydion belonged to a true Fae High King in Prythian. And basically this guy, he united the lands, he had the sword and peace reigned, right? So this was the last time there's also a true High King in Prythian. And so we learn about this, and it's going to be, again, very important because it's all kind of coming together. And so then Amren tells...
stars are aligning.
Right. And so Amren then tells them that Nesta made a new trove. So just like how we're looking for the dead trove, like this is now a new trove. And as she's saying this, they're like, yeah, so don't tell Nesta. And Cassian's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, she like, what? And they're pretty much saying to Cassian, they're like, oh, you know, like, we don't trust her. Like, knowing all she has all this power, like, she might just go crazy and evil. And he's like, guys, she's a bitch, but she's like not evil. And that's the thing too. Like, I get it that she's very like volatile, uncontrollable, but she isn't evil. And like, they know that. Like, it's Feyre's sister. So I just like feel like that's a weird thing. And then
I think a lot of it stems from Reese being so Feyre.
Right.
I think it's just like an insecurity from his point of view. So like he's just trying to really smother everyone.
Right. Well, and then also, so kind of I think Cassian feels the same way because then Cassian's like, well, you want me to lie to Nesta and I don't want to. So speaking of which, how are you just so fine like lying to your mate and your wife like about this pregnancy all the time? Like I don't understand how you can like look her in the face and do this every day. And so Reese tells Cassian that he doesn't want to take the joy away from Feyre. Like she's so happy to be a mom. She's really excited and he doesn't want to take her joy from her. So I don't agree with that stance, but it also does supply the fact of like, I don't think he's evil Reese. Like, I think that he has like a legit reason. I think, yeah, I think it's not thought out. I think it's not a good reason, but I think, right. But it's also like, she'd be pissed.
Yeah, I mean, like, she should.
Yeah, you'd think that's a little important. Like, I don't know.
Oh, hey, by the way, you're gonna die.
Right. And so then Amryn, so Amryn like leaves and she tells the boys like, hey, don't like unsheath these blades. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, don't do it. Don't touch them. And so, of course, the second Amryn leaves, like, Cassie and Reese take them out of their sheaths. Yeah. And she's like, you're an asshole. And so she comes back and she basically is like, hey, like, kind of like Hallee said before, everything's lining up. And so the last time that a High King ruled Prithian, it was with a magic sword. And she tells Reese, like, I think this is like your calling to be High King. Like, I think that you should be High King. And Reese is like, I don't want this. Like, I don't have any desire. I want nothing to do with this. And then she's saying, like, Feyre doubles your strength. Nesta's powers. Like, you literally, like, could easily be High King. He doesn't want to do that. But it's interesting how these similarities are coming out. And she's like, it's not coincidence.
Honestly, I feel like SJM might actually write this into existence.
I mean, yes, she's already writing.
But, like, I feel like something, like, crazy is going to happen. Because you know how, like, each time in the other books, like, when Feyre died, all the High Lords came together and gave a piece of their essence to her because she saved them all from under the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Reese died, they all gave an essence of themselves to restore him after he fought Hybern for all of them. So I feel like what next is going to be so catastrophic that they're all going to, like, lay siege to Reese so that he is the High King.
Right. I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities, you know. I'm intrigued. I'm curious.
I also, like, don't like that plot either.
I don't love it.
It's just too wrapped up. Okay, listen. If SJM delivers that type of ending to, like, the series, she has to kill off at least 3 major players.
At least. I really hope the next book, I don't know what we talked about that got, like, was in the last episode that we recorded that we didn't publish, and, like, what we didn't, you know, like, I don't know what the fuck we talked about. Because, like, obviously no one heard that. So, I don't know if I mentioned it. If I did, I'm really sorry. But, so next book we think is going to be about Elaine, which she, like, pretty much confirmed. I would love if next book is about Elaine and, like, Asriel, consequently. And then if it's about, like, Elaine and Asriel, because they have, like, kind of, like, a thing going, obviously Lucian would be involved because, like, he's her mate. I do think there could be a whole thing with Tamlin. I'm not convinced otherwise. And then also, if you have all those main players, then you also would find out more about Eris. So I'm down for, like, a spring autumn court heavy next book in ACOTAR. I'm kind of sick of Valaris and Feyre, Reese, Nesta, and Cassian. Honestly, I am.
And then also when you had mentioned, well, you had sent me a DM about this whole, like, Winter Queen theory.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we haven't really delved much into day court or winter. I mean, like, I know CC3, a lot of it's in Dawn Court, I think.
Oh, really? I have no idea. Yeah.
I think I saw a spoiler about that.
Okay.
That might be false information. If it is, don't listen to me. But I wonder if, like, one of the next books will be about, like, that.
I'm intrigued. Yeah, I think we've gotten so much, like, Night Court for a while now.
Yeah. Like, we get it.
I think
for the stars who listen and the people who answer whatever shit this fucking quote is.
I'm really feeling a spring and autumn. Like, I feel it in my soul. Like, I want it. I feel like that would, like, satiate me, my hunger.
Well, SJM, you heard it here first. This is what the people want, so write it.
The people, me.
Well, you'll love this point. Well, now we're back in spring court.
See,
so
I knew it.
Cassie and Nesta end up going to spring to see Eris.
See, and Eris is there. Yeah. I'm telling you.
Shit, Jamie. Do you, like, have her, like, personal email or something?
No, I think probably just because, like, I feel like the fact that they're meeting up with Eris in spring court, so it's also plot setup. Like, yeah, she's leading us there too. True. You're like, all right, mind reader.
Seriously, God. Jamie will hold this up in my head.
I told you. I'm ready.
All right, Jamie, we got it. So anyways, they're in spring.
Yes.
Meeting with Eris. And there's, right off the bat, there's this weird, like, allusion to Elaine in the spring court.
Yes.
Like, saying that she would love the place because there's so many flowers, everything's vibrant, the birds are singing, there's warm, buttery sunshine.
That sounds magical. I want it.
And it says, but Elaine, the spring court, had been made for someone like her. So, I mean, Jamie, you're not that far off. I think you might be onto something.
Right, and this begs the fact, right? Like, I know we've discussed it. that could imply, okay, she does end up with Lucian and he gets back in Tamlin's good graces and she lives there. Okay, fine. I don't hate.
She ends up with Eris.
No, he won't go for her.
That would be crazy, though.
That would be, but he's gonna. I don't know who's gonna.
Like is forced to marry her or something.
Yeah, I don't know, but I guess my thing is this, right? When it's saying Elaine was made for someone like Springcourt, what?
Maybe like one of Tamlin's brothers.
Are they dead? No, they're dead.
Not all of them.
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
I think they're all. That's why he's High Lord. Well, I think he was gonna be High Lord anyways, but I think they're dead as well. But I guess my point is this: is like, okay, even if Lucian is living in Springcourt, like you don't look at him and say, "Oh, Spring." You know what I'm saying? Like he is very much so Autumn. So the fact that they're saying that Springcourt was made for someone like Elaine, that's how I was supposed to say it. Yes. It makes me feel like she should be with a blonde man. Like she's a blonde man kind of gal.
Wait, okay, but what about this? What if something happens? Rhys becomes High Lord. All the other High King. All the other High Lords get fucking wiped off the mat, and Rhys awards a court to each of his inner circle, and subsequently,
Elaine would be Spring. Huh. I don't hate it.
Like, say, like, Amryn ends up at Summer, you know what I mean? And fucking Cassian gets Dawn. I don't know.
Right. Well, then Lucian would get Day because he's...
Yeah.
I just don't think Rhys would do that to his friends.
Evil Rhys.
Well, anyways.
Yeah, so anyways. So they tell Eris that they found his soldiers and that they're under this weird kind of haze because of the crown that Brylan has and how she's in cahoots with Koshi. So it's like this whole big mess. So they let Eris in on like what they found out. Also, Tamlin makes a reappearance, but he's in his beast form. Like he's full on beast mode. Like he's a scary monster. And he like growls at them and
he's like talking, but he's using English, but he like sounds like guttural and like monstrous.
Yeah. And Nesta's like shows him her power and she's like, you don't tell anyone that you saw us here, yada yada yada. And he just kind of like growls in response.
He like sulks away, yeah.
Like what?
He's just going through it, this poor fucking guy.
Whatever.
He needs like Elaine's nurturing presence in his life.
Maybe he needs like a strong woman.
No,
to whip his ass into shape.
No. He's such a bitch for that. He needs like Elaine would love to just like wear dresses and garden. Yeah. They would dote on each other and they would just live this happy little life.
I don't know. It's just like the thing that I think is holding me back from fully embracing this whole thing is just that like Tamlin and Fair were a thing.
No, I get what you're saying.
Like, I don't know. Are we double dipping? Is Sarah J. Maas that type of girl to write that type of plot? I don't know.
Right. I have no siblings, so I don't give a fuck. Like, there's no family alliance. I'm like, who cares? Go for whoever. I don't know. Yeah, maybe that is fucked up.
Fair would care, but I think it would be kind of weird. It's close to home.
Yeah, like you're both having sex with this guy. Eek. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah, that is a good point, I guess. But I'm like, fuck it. I don't know. I don't know why I really like Tamlin and Elaine. I don't know why. I just do. I am, and I don't want to be. Like, I don't like it actually, but I'm like hell bent on it. I don't know. It's very bizarre. So anyways, so after they leave the spring court, then the girls decide, our girls, Emery, Gwyn, and Nesta are like, we're going to become the new Valkyrie, like the female warriors we discussed last episode. So now there is a part of these Valkyrie warriors and they have like a sword, I don't know, like a practice they do, like a maneuver, and it's called an 8-pointed star. That's going to be huge. We're going to discuss a ton of points of the 8-pointed star. Spoiler alert, that's where like the Crescent City crossover comes in. 8-pointed stars are going to be big. We already talked about that a little bit because that is the tattoo that Cassie and Nesta have on their backs for their bargain is an 8-pointed star. So it's very relevant and it keeps coming up. And so
she's basically just shoving it down.
Correct, she really is. And so Cassian then goes back to the house and he's talking to Elaine and he like learns that Nesta loves music and dancing, which is kind of relevant now because Nesta has been training at the library, all these things just to kind of stay alive and like get herself out of this like depressive slump. But now he's learning things that she would actually like enjoy doing. So like a step further than like, oh, like let's just get her out of the house and get her like body moving. Now it's like things that she actually would like bring her joy and that she would enjoy. So he learns that, which is like a little tidbit for him to know.
Yeah, which I think is very sweet because he does utilize this information.
He does.
To his advantage.
Love him.
So Cassian obviously can't keep his mouth shut, so he tells Nesta about the three blades while they're training, and Nesta's pissed because
yikes.
So basically, when they decided not to tell Nesta, like they put it to a vote. Like, all right, so everyone voted against her, so now she's pissed off that she knows that, like, even Amryn voted against her.
Yeah, I think Amryn and Rhys voted. I think Feyre was, like, cool with her knowing, but I think Amryn and Rhys voted against her.
Yeah, and so she feels, like, betrayed.
Well, Amryn was her friend. Like, Amryn, like, defended her and was like, Feyre, give her time. So, like, the fact that, like, again, that Amryn, who was her friend, even if they're arguing, is voting against her, thinking she's evil. Again, you could be arguing with your friends, but like know their true nature. So the fact that Amryn like didn't trust her with this, that she thinks she's gonna like be evil and take over, was like really fucking insulting.
So she's pissed. So she stops training, and what does she do when she gets upset? She attempts the stairs.
Yes.
So she goes down the stairs, she makes it all the way to the bottom, and she runs across town to Amryn's apartment.
Yeah, not only does she do the stairs, finally she runs across the city.
Yeah. So she gets to Amryn's apartment, and like her and
Varian,
yeah, that's his name, are doing something dirty. So
mid-sex.
So he's like, uh-oh. So like he throws his pants on, like runs out because
I would dip so hard.
He's definitely going to tattletale.
He's like, ring the alarms.
Yeah, literally. And so like Nesta's fucking fuming at Amryn, and then Feyre comes, and Rhys comes too, Cassian comes. Don't they all just end up there?
Yeah, I think like pretty much I think Feyre gets there first, and I think then like, you know, she mind speaks to Rhys, who mind speaks to Cassian. So then everyone's like, okay,
Big blow up. Yeah,
not good.
Nesta in her rage is like, you know what, Feyre, fuck you. Did you know that you're gonna die while you give birth to your baby?
Yeah.
And no one's told you? Like, yeah, why don't you like look at your mate? Like,
well, right, because she's like, yeah, how does it feel?
Yeah.
Like, oh, everyone wanted to keep a secret from me. Well, fuck you, they're keeping a secret from you too.
Exactly.
And Feyre's like, what?
Yeah, so Rhys is like pissed beyond.
Pissed is like an understatement.
And he tells Cassian, he's like, you better get her out of here or else I'm gonna kill her.
And like, that gives me like the chills slightly, because it's like he's pretty like calm, cool, collected when it comes to his inner circle.
Very methodical. Like he thinks out every little thing, every little way that something could happen. He has like.
But like he would have killed her for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. Would he have? That's her sister.
I know, but I think he like literally was like that. Like,
I think he might have like started to kill her and then like backed off.
I don't know, but like if someone
her body against the wall and would like go at her neck with a knife and like just held it at her throat, and then Feyre would be like, Rhys, don't do it.
Yeah, I guess
and
like
she'd be like shuddering and like gasping.
Oh Jesus!
Stab her, and then she'd like
wow.
Feyre would put her hand on his shoulder and be like, stop.
Wow, you really thought this whole fucking like you just kept going, and I was like, holy shit. I'm like watching, you're like, he's gasping and shuddering. Okay, wow, Hal, jeez. But I also think like, yeah, like if someone's that pissed at you, they're like, get her out of here, or like, I can't be trusted to like not kill them. That's a scary kind of anger. Yes, that's fucked up. And so Cassian does take her, and he flies her into the fucking mountains, and he's like, we're going hiking. She's like, okay. And now
we're not going to speak.
Right, and now mind you, yeah, Nesta's really upset with herself. So this is the first time we're seeing her be a complete bitch, but like have some remorse, and that's like a huge step for her.
Because she knows she fucked up.
She did. And she's pissed, you know, but like she knows that Feyre is super upset. And so they hike for 5 days. They literally, as Hallee said, don't speak the entire time. And then
like, get up.
Yeah, because she falls down a lot.
Bush.
Yeah, like sleep. Like she barely eats. She's like weak, but she's just like whatever. And so they get to this lake. That was their final goal. And Cassian, I guess he knew or heard this lake was good for healing, and he was like, okay, like let's bring her there. Maybe like this can help. So they get to this lake. Yeah, they get to this lake, and Nesta literally just sits down and starts sobbing, like painful, like ugly sobbing, like where it's like scary. You know when someone cries so much, it's like you're scared. Like it was like that kind of sobbing, and he was like, "Oh God!" And so she starts talking to him about
it's complete and utter despair.
Right,
like everything's bubbled to the surface.
Finally, Which, like, the girl just needed to cry. Like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, girl.
She needed a cathartic experience.
Yeah,
She got
for sure. And so she talks to Cassian about the guilt of her father. Like, I probably could have done more, but, like, I even for a second hesitated, and that's what ended up killing him. Which he's like, yeah, I don't think you could have done much, but I think she knows even that, like, split second of, like, I hate him in her mind is relating to a lot of guilt. And so she feels undeserving of anything. I think she even tells, like, him, I don't even deserve you. You're, like, so good and all this stuff. And so Cassian vows to be with her, like, no matter what, like, no matter how fucked up and whatever she is, he's like, I'm with you. And so Nesta begins training on the, uh,
the side of
the shore. Yeah, the shore. I couldn't think of the word shore. Jesus. The shore of the lake. And she's doing that 8-pointed Valkyrie star.
Yeah.
So again, just thought to mention it. Now, the conversation we want to have is a theory, I guess, we saw online that's, like, pretty popularly talked about. People say that you love Nesta if you are her, or you hate her if you've dealt with someone like her.
Yeah.
So thoughts on that?
I mean, I guess I could see it because I did not like Nesta the first read around.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I've ever dealt with someone like Nesta, but I do think, I know some people who have the same qualities as her, like throughout the book, but not to like her degree.
That's my point, I think. So I actually like this theory. But I guess my point is,
But I liked her the second time around, and I don't think I'm like Nesta. You know what I mean?
right. Like, it was more of just, yeah, no, I agree. Well, I think we also like the book as a whole the second time around better. I do like this theory. I think I'm mixed on it because I didn't really like Nesta, but I still felt like I've had periods of time where, like, I could relate to Nesta. I think at a certain point, right? Obviously, if you're depressed and all these things, like, you kind of bite the hand that feeds you. You're mean to people that, love you. I think she just did it for far too long. Like, I think that they showed her time and time again, like, we're not leaving you. We're here for you. And so I think at a certain point, you're just being extremely stubborn. Like, in the beginning, fine. But, like, they're literally doing everything to help you, like, leaving you alone, trying to help you, saying we'll pay for things. Like, they're doing every option. And so I think I'm mixed about her because, again, I completely get it. I think this is definitely a very accurate depiction of depression and how people deal with it.
For sure.
But that being said, I think that she really, like, leaned heavy into being a complete bitch to them. And I think it just, like, wasn't fair. Like, they really tried to do everything possible.
Honestly, now that we're talking about it, even though we've had this conversation literally 1,000 times, I think this whole theory is just like stemming from like that idea of like you trying to, pick out which character in the story you are. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
yeah. Like, what Twilight character are you? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Like, I guess that's not, like, well, to talk
like
about like Twilight, right? Like, Rosalie was a bitch for, like, most of the books because she didn't agree with Bella's choice being a vampire, yada yada. But then, like, once they had that, like, open experience and, like, had a conversation, like, they were good. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like Nesta had open conversations and they tried to tell her, like, we're here for you so many times. So just, like, damn, like, it really doesn't fucking work. Like,
yeah, but it needed to go on like this. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to write 900 pages of this fucking book.
well, I guess
how boring would the story have been?
Well, right. I just think, like, even timeline wise, like, this book happened 9 months after Frost and Starlight, even like 2 months. Like, I just think like she really held on to, like, what was me for a long time. And again, I think it's an accurate depiction of depression, but I also think she is in a great city with a family who loves her. Like, so many things that would, like, pull her out of depression, and she really just, like, leaned heavy into, like, refusing anything, which, I mean, I guess,
That's how it is, though.
self-sabotage is part of depression,
The mountain is you.
Right. And so, yeah, I mean, so again, I do like this theory. But I think it's interesting we both liked her more the second book and nothing changed with us. Like, but I think we liked the plot better, so therefore it made the whole book better.
Yeah, more enjoyable.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a her thing. It was like an overall thing.
Agreed. Okay. So yeah, so interesting. Curious to hear your guys' thoughts if you guys have heard this theory or if you agree or you're like, no.
So after they have their big cathartic experience at the lake, they go back to Valaris and they're headed back into training, right back in. And the three girls, Nesta, Emery, and Gwyn, are tasked with cutting a ribbon with their swords, which is like kind of like the final test to be like a Valkyrie or whatever.
Yeah, like if you do that, like you are a Valkyrie.
Yeah. So they do that, and it takes them a few tries, maybe a few days, but they all
I think it takes
successfully
them
cut the ribbon.
Yeah, it takes them like a while. I don't know, like the book wise. I think maybe like I don't know, a few training sessions a week. I don't know, who knows. But yeah, they eventually all do become Valkyrie.
The new and improved Valkyrie.
Here they are.
Also, which is interesting, so as we know that Nesta likes music, she asks Gwyn, who's a priestess, if she could come to one of their ceremonies.
Yeah,
masses, I don't know. What
it's kind of like a mass.
And
but
listen to the music.
But also, like I was about to say, like it's great that Nesta is like asking.
Yeah.
You know, like we know from Cassie and like Elaine's conversation that she likes it, but now it's like she's like seeking it out, which is really like you're seeing that she's again kind of overcoming just surviving and now like wants to do things for herself.
Exactly. So she ends up going to one of their chorus singing things. And she gets like overtaken like by the music, and she gets put into like this kind of trance, I guess. And she has this vision of like this cavern. And in the cavern, the book says that there were symbols etched into the smooth floor, into curving walls, rising toward a ceiling so high it faded into gloom. Spells and wards pulsed around the room. So right off the bat, if you read Throne of Glass, it's reminiscent of word marks.
Yeah, like that was my first thought on our second read.
Yeah, I was like, come on, she's putting it right there, you know?
And that's the thing. I think SJM intentionally makes things very similar because it's like the same world. Like it's not lazy writing. She's not just like having the same idea over and over. I think she very intentionally is like when things are similar, it's not because like, oh, she has no ideas. It's like, no, she wants you to realize like, oh, this is similar.
Yeah, exactly. And so while she's seeing this vision of the cavern, she sees the harp, which is the final object of the dread trove that they're looking for. And she realizes that it's in the prison. So guess where they end up going next?
Yeah, so they're like, well, the harp's in the prison, we're going to the prison. And so there's heavy illusion again. Of course, I gotta talk about it because prison, love it. I want to go live there. So she basically is talking about how the prison's horrible because, again, Nesta's never been here before. We've been there before with, Feyre through her eyes, but Nesta's never been there. And she says that it was even more horrible in person. The very land seemed abandoned, like something great had once existed here and then vanished. Like the land still waited for it to return. Hello? Like, come on. And then as they walk into the prison, right? They get into the room, or no, they're walking like to the room where the harp is. And so Cassian says, Rhys told me once this island might have even been an eighth court. Again, this is now the second time we're bringing this up. And then she asks Cassian, you don't recognize these markings on the ground? He says, not at all. Like pretty much being like they're not from like this world kind of situation. That's how I took it at least. And again, if they are word marks, it wouldn't be from this world. They wouldn't recognize it. Like I'm curious if maybe Amber would recognize them. Like she might, because words and like word marks are very similar things. So
Aelin Galanthius might.
Right. Call her up. And so, okay, great. So they walk down, they find the room with the harp in it. Now again, the harp sat atop a large rendering of an 8-pointed star. Okay.
Again.
Now, I'm going to go into a bit of a spoiler, so skip ahead like a minute or so if you don't want to hear it. It involves Crescent City. So as we know, we think that the horn in Crescent City is the fourth object of the Dread Trove. Now.
We don't think, we know.
Right, yeah, that's honestly very true.
It's been verified.
And so Bryce, as we know, got that tattoo of the 8-pointed star on her chest that like lights up. So the fact that, and again, the horn is now on her back, all this stuff. Okay. Correct. And so the fact that like the trove, now the harp is also on an 8-pointed star, and then like the horn and then the 8-pointed star in Crescent City. Something's up with like the 8-pointed star and like the trove. And like the fact that it's in both series, like
Bro, what if the 8-pointed star stands for the 8 courts in Prythian? And that's where
bye.
it originated from.
See you later.
Holy shit, that like just clicked.
Your eyes lit up so cute. And I was like, aw, she's having an epiphany. I was like, what's she thinking about? Tell me. Yeah. 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 I think 8 is like a big, I love it. Mm-hmm.
Also weird how like everything's been like 8 months later.
Yeah. What the fuck is going
And
on?
you know what 8 stands for is, if you turn to the side, it's the infinity symbol.
Wow.
Shit.
All right. I mean,
I just solved it.
yeah. Yeah.
I didn't really solve anything. I'm just.
No, I like that actually a lot. Yeah, no, this is like making my brain, like I'm like not talking a lot because I'm like my brain is spinning now for the prison theories and just.
You're welcome.
I'm excited. Okay. And so, yeah. So something was like stretched into the stars, carved all around them. So, like, she's saying there's all these words and there's something vaster here. So, yeah, very reminiscent of multiverse and things like that. And so she gets the harp, but of course she gets stuck like in this little chamber. And so we know that the harp, again, as we mentioned, the harp opens doors, whether they're physical or metaphorical doors. And so Nesta's like, all right, I'm gonna pluck the first string of the harp because that should get me out of this door. Sounds good. And so it opens the door. She's like, yay, it worked. And so now her door's open. What the problem is, if we remember from last episode, Cassian mentioned a bunch of the big bads he put in there, and one of them was one of the death gods, Lanthus. And so they look, and Lanthus's door is also open.
Yeah.
So, bad, Nesta. Not good.
So, surprise, surprise, Lanthus is here. And he's talking to Nesta about the harp, giving her some history. And he says that the last string, even death bows to it. So
keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind, yeah. So Cassian's like, Nesta, we gotta go. So he's like, you gotta run. So Nesta swivels around. She runs back to Cassian. And while she's running back, she's counting the strings on the harp. And there's 26. And she remembers how Gwyn mentioned that there might be as many as 26 different dimensions. So spooky, 26 dimensions, 26 strings. Okay, we're going back to this theory. So when she goes back to help Cass, she ends up seeing this fourth object in a shadow, like almost like another freaking vision kind of thing.
Right.
And it's like cloaked, so it's like not really able to be seen. Obviously, we think it's the horn.
Yeah, so it's like all she could tell of it was like aged bone.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the horn. Great.
Exactly.
So that's where we keep referencing. So I thought that quote already happened, but that's fine. But that's where we're like very hell-bent that the fourth object is the horn.
Exactly. And then she ends up killing Lanthus, and they say that when she kills him, that there's, first of all, he's a death god. He isn't able to be killed, but she kills him
with her sword.
With her sword that she made. And he has black blood, which, again, throwback to the Throne of Glass,
is the Valg.
Black blood.
Right, so what's going on here?
So either Sarah J. Maas is like really connecting everything, or she's just unoriginal.
I think that she's really connecting everything. That's my opinion, but we shall see. And so when they go back, they're talking to Amryn about how they killed Lanthus, and she's like, that's crazy. And so she gives us a little bit of history. And so they talk about this big war, like 15,000 years ago. And it says, the Fae were not the first masters of this world. According to our oldest legends, most now forgotten, we were created by beings who were near gods and monsters, the Daglin. They ruled for millennia and enslaved us and the humans. They were petty and cruel and drank the magic of the land like fine wine. Okay. So that's the Asteri from Crescent City.
100%.
Don't care. Now this is where that whole battle happened, where Gwydion, that true high Fae king, banished the Daglin.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of that battle that occurred. Now, basically they just talk all about those and like how that happened. Yeah, so again, we just really think that this is what it's going to be.
We can't say it enough.
Yeah, the Daglin are the Asteri. So this is all really connecting, and SJM's doing a great job of like putting little things. And again, this is the first time we're hearing this history because it's relevant now to the multiverse. Like we didn't hear it before. We heard about like fucking the winged people, Miriam and Draken, because that was relevant to the first main trilogy. Now this is like very multiversed, heavy lore that like we're going into. And so, okay, we find this out and we're like, oh boy, okay, this is like getting in depth. And then right now it's winter solstice is coming up again, and our main plan is to secure our alliance with Eris because we kind of need him. And so Nesta's training, she's making plans, they're trying to figure out what to do with Braylon, like what's going on. But now we have the harp, so we feel pretty good. Like we have 2 out of 3. Like we won. We're good. Yeah, maybe not. But and so now Moore is also home for solstice. Moore really doesn't have a big part in this book. Really, all she does in this book is teaches Cassian to dance, which we'll get to in a second. So they basically figure to get Eris to commit to their alliance. They're gonna invite Eris to their like solstice party. In the yes, and they're like, we're gonna dangle Nesta for him as like this like potential bride.
Yeah, she's always like a bargaining chip.
Yes. And so they decide to have Nesta dance with Eris, and they're like, oh, she's a great dancer that'll like woo him. And so as they're getting ready to do that, Nesta also is still working in the library. She realizes that the inside of the library, like that big black pit, is the house's heart. So, okay, cool. The house, again, we know it's like kind of sentient, which is Nesta's like starting to learn more about it.
And the house only interacts with her. It doesn't interact with anyone else.
Right. Right.
Which is interesting. So it's solstice. They go to the Court of Nightmares. Nesta's dancing with Eris. He's all up on her. She's killing the dance. She's really just going out there.
Yeah, like he's definitely intrigued by her, and
he makes a comment like, kind of like saying that he like wants her.
Yeah, like he's like he tells Reese like, oh, I accept like your plot. Like, you know, like I'm down.
Yeah. And then they end up talking about more.
Always.
And again, Eris says she knows the truth but has never revealed it. And Nesta's like, why? And he's like, because she's afraid of it. So what the fuck is the truth?
Quite frankly, I'm sick of SJM like dick teasing us with this. Yeah. Like just she's fucking yeah, like tell us.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
Oh God.
A little bit right after this, Cassian cuts into them dancing. He's like, oh, like, may I have this dance? So him and Nesta dance, and proud mom moment. Moore is like, oh, like those dance lessons like really paid off. And
how cute. It's like, just, what a guy.
Yeah, it's just nice, you know?
Yes. And so after they have like, this official solstice ceremony, they have obviously like their solstice at the house, like the townhouse. And so Nesta does come this year, and she feels such shame for how she acted last year. Like she was like, I'm really sorry. And so she actually does apologize to everyone, including Cassian. And Cassian gets her this little music box as a gift. And it's all the songs that was played in the Court of Nightmares. So there's like no like talking or anything. And she's like, how did you get this? And he's like, oh, I went back and had the band like play them all again, like for like a personal recording, which is like so cute. Right. But then Nesta gets spooked as fuck by this and like this like serious like kind of commitment. And she's like, I don't like want this. And she literally makes an allusion to like the fact that like I'm better suited for Eris because he's just horrible. And like I'm also horrible. Like I don't deserve someone as good as you. And now she makes an allusion to Cassian dying again, which again, I'm sorry. Elaine and Tamlin, big supporter. Cassian dying, not a supporter, but pretty convinced it's going to happen. And so she says, I'm still terrified that if I let myself have you, it'll be taken away. Someone will take it away. And if you're dead, like, what the fuck? I don't know. Just again, I point these things out because I just feel strongly about them. So I don't know. And so they have like an emotional moment. He pretty much tells her again, like, I just want to be with you. And so they end up having sex. And while they're having sex, there's like a golden thread that bonds them. So as the reader, we all know what this means. They're mates. And so Nesta's in denial, which like, I'm like, hello, if you got blessed by having Cassian as a mate, you fucking loser. Like,
well, I don't think she's in denial. She just is not ready to accept it.
That means you're in denial.
Is that the definition?
Hallie's like, she's on denial. She just refuses to accept the truth.
I thought denial is like when you don't know.
No, denial means like you're in denial of the truth. Oh. Exactly what you just said. Anyways. And so after this, Cassian's like, oh, I have a lot of business. Well, first he lives on a snowball fight because of course he does. They have their annual solstice snowball fight. And then he's like, oh, when I don't come back after, no worries. I'm fine. I have like lots of business to attend to.
Which is so like vague. I have business.
Right.
So he's gone, and Nesta's bored because he's not around. So she decides to have a sleepover with all the girls, which is so cute. They have like bubble baths, they make friendship bracelets, there's like unicorns, whatever they want, the house provides for them.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was a cute little insert. And then Cassian comes back,
Mm-hmm.
and we find out that the reason why he left was because he wanted to give her some space, see if she realizes
Like
that,
accepted this.
yeah, no more in denial.
And plus, like, we know from when Reese and Feyre solidified their bond, like, he gets, like, very overprotective. So he was like, if she's already freaking out, I don't need to be, like, an overbearing asshole. That'll make things, like, 10 times worse.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
now, when the girls are training, Asriel's been setting up these little courses, essentially, like,
right,
for them to complete.
Like, wipeout obstacle courses, but, like, deadly.
American Ninja Warrior,
yes. Mm-hmm.
Whatever. And so they keep trying every day. The course changes and they keep failing. But then finally, there's one day, and it's just the three of them. So mind you, I don't think we mentioned before that, like, after Gwen and Emery started showing up for the training, a little bit later, other priestesses started to come too. Although we only really hear about the three of them. But this day, when they completed the course, it was only the three of them around. So Asriel must have told the other priestesses not to come because he invited Daglin and some of the other Illyrians to watch them complete the course. And we come to find out...
Declan.
Oh, Daglin? What's his name?
I think it's Declan, right? Daglin?
Devlin.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Daglin
is the big bads.
Wow. Anyways.
Okay, but I also couldn't think Devlin.
They sound the same.
They do.
So Devlin and the other Illyrians are there. And it's basically like the final test to see, like, to make you eligible to do the rite in Illyria.
Yes, and so the reason that Asriel invited Devlin there, I love how Devlin's name is written right on our notes. Anyways, the reason he invites Devlin there is because, again, they're still trying to combat him and say, like, women can train. Yeah. And so they're just proving to him, like, women are just as good and, like, they could also be, like, full-blown Illyrians. So I think this is a good idea. And that's fine. Good for them. They're trying to empower the Illyrians and change their ways of thinking. So the girls do pass the course, as Hallee said, and so now they're, like, Valkyrie. They pretty much also qualify for the Blood Rite in Illyria. Like, they're just bad bitches, which is great. Yeah. And so Nesta now does the stairs again. Probably the first time she does them not out of emotion and just does them. And she goes straight to Amren's and she literally, like, drops to her knees and begs forgiveness and says sorry. So another cathartic moment for her.
It's a 12-step program she's in right now.
You know, she really is. And so Amren tells her that, you know, Nesta, you made the house. Like, you gave it sentience because all you wanted was a friend who, like, understood, and you kind of, like, made that into existence. And so the house, like, coddled you and made sure you were taken care of. So I kind of like that plot point. I think it's cute. I'm into it.
And at that point, it kind of ties everything up, right?
Like, yeah, we know, like, what the fuck. Well, and it's also because the house hasn't done this before. Yeah. So we were like, why all of a sudden does the house, like, take care of Nesta? So now it makes a lot more sense. So very true. And so then after this, we skip ahead a little bit, a few months, and now it's springtime.
Yeah. And right off the bat, there's a quote. Now, if you've read Throne of Glass, you'll understand. It says that a rare red star went blazing across the sky one day, an ill omen. Nesta had heard the priestesses muttering. Cassian reported that even Reese had been rattled by it, seeming unusually contemplative afterwards. As we know, Aelin, when she's moving through dimensions, she is, like, in a bright red ball of fire or whatever. And as she's, like, falling through, she needs, like, a little, like, boost to keep her going. And in Throne of Glass, it says that she sees a winged male and a female who's pregnant, and they kind of, like, see each other, and he kind of throws her
to the next, like, back to her rightful world.
Yeah,
which I think it's very interesting. The more we talk about it, how many Throne of Glass
true
references there are in this book as well. So this book is really heavy on Crescent City, Throne of Glass. Like, it's really connecting all the worlds, which is pretty crazy. SJM is really leaning heavy into, you know, multiverse madness up in here.
Yeah. And then, you know, just to add a little bit to the confusion of Nesta and Cassian, They're kind of going back and forth, and she's like, "Why did you leave after solstice?" Um, and he was like, "Well, why do you think?" He was like, "I wanted to give you time so you could accept, obviously, that we're mates."
Right.
Um, and this is all very overwhelming for her, so she tells him to go away, and she calls in her bargain essentially, so he has to stay away from her for about a week. So she kind of digs her own grave there.
Yeah.
But she's upset, so she goes to her girl Emery, and they have like a little sleepover. And Emery called Gwen, was like, "Hey, come over. Like Nessa's like not well."
Mm-hmm.
And
Yikes.
chapter ends with them getting stolen in the middle of the night.
And it's really sad too because Gwen, that's her first time leaving the library, and like because like obviously she's been like sexually assaulted. And so now the fact that she's been stolen by these men in the night is like super upsetting and traumatizing for her, you know? And so why were they stolen in the night? They are now forced into the Illyrian Blood Rite because when Devlin saw them all compete, he kind of took it as like a slap in the face, like, fuck you guys. And he was like, oh, good, they can compete. Sounds good. Okay, they're going to compete. And so they are all separated in different camps. Now, Nesta wakes up before all the other Illyrians. She's crushing it. Now, this Blood Rite is different because normally, again, their wings are tied. There's no weapons. There's no magic. There's no nothing. You have to make it with, fists and pure will to the mountain. Now, in this Blood Rite, there's weapons scattered around. Someone planted weapons there. So Nesta's like, what the fuck? And so, but she's crushing it. She's fine. And so the little charm bracelets they made at their sleepover, there's little coins or trinkets on them. And Nesta also like imbued them with power that's like, oh, we'll never leave each other or whatever.
Yeah, so, like, link them all.
Yeah, and so now when she's like looking for them, the charm like lights up to like who needs help.
Yeah, it's like a tracking device.
Right. And so one of them's like blinking fast, like, okay, that friend needs my help more. And so she runs off to find her friends. The one that was blinking ends up being Emery, and Emery was in super like trouble. She's like in the middle of a river, like clutching on for dear life. I guess she was trying to outrun someone and like dove in, and she's unconscious. And so Nesta saves her. She like ties a fucking bow and arrow around her back and like slings her over her back, and it's great. And so they hide in a cave, and she helps to heal helps to heal Emery back to full health before they can go and find Gwen.
Exactly. So once they've gotten it together for a little bit, they go to find Gwen. They save her. Gwen was actually doing great. She was really killing it, which was awesome. She set like a big cat out to kill like some of the Illyrian people.
Yeah, I know. Them. Like they were nervous that Gwen was going to be like, unfortunately, trigger warning, like raped and like, not holding her own. Gwen's like fucking crushing it. Yeah, like, I think Nesta expected the blinking one to be Gwen at first, and she was like, damn, Emery needs my help? Like, Gwen, way to go.
And also at this point, we go into a little bit of history. Because Emery is Illyrian. So she tells them about the Pass of Annalius, which is a part like in the Illyrian mountains where a great war was fought between the Fae and the ancient beings who oppressed them. One of the key battles was here in these mountains. And for whatever reason, the enemy was very desperate to reach the stone at the top of Ramiel, which is the obelisk that we mentioned in the first part.
Yes.
So again.
Right, and it's like, so obviously the Fae and the beings who oppress them is the Daglin / Asteri. Heard it here. Now, again, like we've mentioned, that like onyx monolith, sketchy, and it also like transports them if they finish the rite. So it's like, I don't know. The fact that I think is the reason they were so desperate to reach it, hear me out. If they are trying to escape this world, right, the Daglin are like, oh fuck, these Fae are no joke, they're gonna kill us. If they had to world jump, then maybe they wanted to get to the onyx monolith because they were like, we need to get to the next world and get there quickly. So I think that could be kind of what is going on there. Not sure, that's just speculation, but I think it's interesting that they made it a point to mention, hey, they were trying to get to that onyx monolith. Yeah. Like that was important to them. So I think that also has to do with the multiverse.
Obviously.
I would think.
They're trying to zoom out of there.
Right. And so the girls travel to Ramiel. They're making their way. And so they make it to the foot of the mountain. And remember fucking Emery's asshole cousin Bellius? Great. He's back. And so Bellius is pursuing them. He's probably super, like, he's definitely the definition of, like, misogynistic dickhead. Yeah. So he's like, no women in my fucking Blood Rite. Like,
he's very old-fashioned.
yeah, like I'm gonna kill them just because they exist. Like, what an asshole. Anyways, so Bellius is pursuing them with his little fucking tribe of assholes. I don't know. And so, yeah, that's exactly the word I wanted. Thank you so much. I couldn't like put it into words, but yes, cronies, amazing. And so the girls are hiding out, and they basically, which don't love this, they're like, we're gonna climb the mountain, like we're gonna get to the top. Okay.
There's nowhere to go but up, man.
No, they could just hide in a tree and fucking live, and then once the Blood Rite ends, it ends, and you're good to go. So if you make it to Ramiel, you're like already like the second tier of like warrior. I forget, but it's like impressive if you even make it there, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that again, only Rhys, Cassian, and Az, and 3 others in all of Illyrian history have made it to the top, and these 3 women are like, we're gonna do it. Like, just fucking stay alive. I just think it's unrealistic. I'm sorry, I do.
I agree. I think personally, I would have been like, just keep going. Let's see how far we can get.
But like, they literally were like, we're gonna die trying. Like, how about you just live?
So
like,
dramatic.
Yeah, like just live. Like, you already achieved the Blood Rite and made it to the foot of Ramiel, which again, most people just like live the week and they're like considered badass.
I know. I see your point.
It annoys me. So yeah, and also Gwyn's like leg is shot, so she like is losing blood and can't go.
Yeah. They're really in poor shape, honestly.
Right.
So Nesta wants to play martyr, and she's like, go, Gwyn and Emery, go to the top, and I will fight Bellius so you guys make it to
This is fucking asinine, but okay. Like, all of you just stay alive in a tree and then call it a day. I don't know.
Yeah, so she like draws a line in the sand, like mad dramatic, like how the fucking
old High Fae King.
High Fae King did when he was fighting off these evil otherworldly people, like mad dramatic, okay? And she's fighting Bellius, and while all this is happening, we learn that Cassian and Az were investigating Brylan.
Right, because like, as we know from the last episode, you cannot interfere in the Blood Rite, like, or else you get killed and the person you're saving. So Cassian literally is like freaking the fuck out, and Azrael's like, you know what, come help me spy, keep your mind occupied, like,
because you can't do anything.
Yeah, like, unfortunately, like, it just is what it is.
Yeah. So they find out that Eris is in Brylan's grasp. Bad news.
Not willingly with the crown.
Yeah.
Which still bad, but like, you know.
And then lo and behold, Az and Cassian get caught by Brylan, and now they're under her control with the crown as well.
Yeah. So bad guys, not good.
And everything comes to a head.
And so as Nesta is fighting Bellius, there's like fucking thunder. Gwyn and Emery reach the top. Again, unrealistic and fucking idiotic. Okay, fine. But from Bellius are squaring off. The thunder and lightning is going. They're like just going crazy. And of course, Nesta, as if her line in the sand, literally a line in the sand, was not dramatic enough. She's like, my mate taught me to fight well. And she like acknowledges that she's Cassian's mate. And I'm like, you dumb bitch.
Because she's about to die and she's like, I might as well just accept it.
Right. And so all of a sudden, Bellius knocks her down. Her, like, you know, big reveal that their mates did nothing for her, and she's still about to die. And so Bellius is about to give the final killing blow, and, like, a sword breaks through his neck, body, I don't know which one, but he's dead. And you're like, what? And so Cassian, like, he falls, and all of a sudden Cassian's there, and she's like, oh, which, again, not allowed.
And she runs to him.
Yeah, because, of course, she's overjoyed that, you know, her mate, she's acknowledged it, he saved her. And so she runs into his arms, and he's like, and now you will die. And you're like, what the fuck? And she's probably like so adrenaline high and just like, huh? Yeah. Like, what do you mean?
Well, so then she realizes that Cassian is under Brylan's grasp. And Brylan, with her fucking old hag ass, comes crawling up the mountain. And
ew, I imagined her like the witch from Snow White, but like crawling on all fours. Like, it was actually really like terrifying in my mind.
So she's like commanding Cassian to kill her, and Cassian is trying to resist. And of course, through the age-old tale of love conquers all, he fights off the crown's power and turns around and kills Brylan. Corny? Yeah.
Rushed?
Yeah. So that's what pissed me off, is that, like,
yes,
Brylan was such a big character, really since, the second book we learned about the queens?
Yeah.
And we've gone through this whole journey over probably 2,000 pages, and she just gets fucking killed by Cassian because his love for Nesta outwins. Like, I don't know.
Well, right, and that's my thing, I guess, too. I don't really after we learned all of these things, how it relates to the multiverse and all that stuff, we liked the Illyrian plot and like Ramiel and all that stuff. And the Dread Trove, I think it was like good. But the fact that Emery and Gwyn made it to the top of the mountain could have not done that.
Yeah.
Could have literally had the plot without that. Cassian, again, you're making a fantasy book. You can't write something better. Like,
Well, I feel like SJM does this, right?
she ends
very abruptly. Like, you know, skip ahead if you don't want to know, but like in Crescent City when Bryce kills whatever, the
Micah.
Archangel Micah, whatever.
Michael.
Michael. Like Bryce, she hasn't even made the drop yet, and all of a sudden she kills the fucking angel. Like, and it happens so quick too.
That one,
I mean, it was an epic. It was one of the most epic scenes she's ever written. But again, I also felt like it was very
okay, fair. That one I didn't mind because I thought it was like, that was kind of like, oh my god, the big reveal, and it was quick for purpose there. This, I felt like she's super relevant, a big player, and then it's like Cassian's the love conquers and just stabs her. Like,
it's very anticlimactic.
Yeah, not great. And so, okay, so now they go home because like literally that's what happens. And now
the end.
They're kissing each other. They're like, we are mates. Like, yay, the day is saved. Now Feyre's dying. And so Feyre is bleeding.
She's bleeding out.
Yeah, the baby's too small. It's like 2 months early. So me and Hallie discussed like, oh, they're literally fucking magic. They can't just do a C-section. But I think also the baby is way too early. Therefore, she's hemorrhaging and a C-section won't work. So it's kind of like we're just fucked. And so the baby is born, and it's born stillborn. And now Feyre's also dying. So like everyone's just dead. Yeah. And so Nesta's like, aha, Lanthus told me that the last string defies death.
Well, don't they also tell, like, doesn't Rhys also say, like, in this moment, like, oh, you know, when Feyre dies, surprise, I'm gonna die too.
I think it was before this moment, but they know that Rhys is also gonna die. Yeah. Like, Rhys and Feyre, I forget when in the book they mentioned it, but they were like, hey, so we made a bargain, and, I don't know, but like they told them, and they were all like, you idiot. And Amren's like, you romantic fools.
Yes.
Yeah. It was in the first part of this book. It might have been, but yeah, so like they all know they're all gonna die. Like all three of them, like fucking see you later. Which again, as we've discussed, yeah, romantic fools. Like I understand. But at the same time, like you have a whole court. Like you have a duty as Rhys, especially for him.
I want him to be High King?
Right. Please. Like he has a duty to this realm, as he's done, you know, oh, I was Amarantha's whore because I wanted to benefit the people, yada, yada, yada. Now you're going to leave your court without a High Lady and a High Lord? Like, not great ruler and leadership. Okay, fine. And so Nesta's like, okay, I gotta save everyone because they're all idiots. Yeah. And she plucks the last string. Now, she goes into a realm where there's no space and time, and she makes a bargain with the Cauldron that she will lose her powers in order to save them. Like, she will give them back. I also don't like this part because it's so similar to Amren. When she went in the Cauldron and they were like, you may live if you give back, you know, and you're just a normal High Fae. Yeah. Like, again, SJM is making all this up. So, like, you can make something else up. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I just think, like, it's so similar.
You just want somebody to die already.
I mean, well, yeah, now Feyre's, this is her second time dying. She fucking won't die. But I didn't want them to die. I just want, like, if they're gonna save them, do it differently.
Yeah, make it more epic.
Like, Feyre and Rhys both were saved by a Colonel of the High Lord's powers. Okay, write something else. Amren had to give her powers to be brought back to life. Now so does Nesta to save them.
What I'm saying is SJM actually unoriginal.
Maybe. I don't know. And so Nesta does give back her powers and they save them. So the day is happy. The day is won. Now Nesta, while she's in there, she also changes her and Feyre's bodies to support future Illyrian baby.
So fucking stupid because Nesta's with Cassian and Feyre's with Rhys and they're both Illyrian. So now she gives them broader hips so that they can birth these children. I hate this point.
I think it's just a point so that if SJM wants to, like, you know, candidly mention, oh, like say in Elaine's book, if she's like, oh, Nesta's pregnant, this way it's not this again. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just like she has to cover her bases.
Okay, but then that's the thing, right? So Elaine didn't get broader hips, so like she's not
right. And that is a point people talk about online a lot. They're like, yeah. So that is honestly my takeaway from that point is that Elaine won't be with Asriel. And that, again, now we can candidly have them have other children and it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I guess.
Like, I don't think she wanted another pregnancy to be another main plot point, was the point.
I just feel like the babies fucking ruined the stories because now you have to care for a child. They can't do this epic
I
shit
can't
anymore
wait
because they got
until, like, you're gonna be the worst aunt ever. Anyways. Yeah, so, okay, that's fine. I actually don't hate that point. I think, again, kind of like how in Frost and Starlight, Feyre had to mention, oh, I do want a baby. It just more so is covering her tracks as she writes future books. All right, whatever. Well, the book's fucking over now, so let's finish it up.
Yeah, so basically the story's over, and we'll see you next week. No, I'm kidding. But so obviously, they still got some shit to deal with. The remaining queens, Koshi, wherever the hell he is.
He was involved with the whole Braylon thing, but he wasn't,
never
there. You're right. He was just, in cahoots.
Yeah, so, where is he? What is he going to do now?
And that's where the whole Winter Queen theory I sent you gets brought up. SJM uses a lot of, lore in her writing to, inspire her.
Like mythology. Yeah,
and so there was, a thing online we saw about, a Winter Queen, and how she had a captor, and could it be, inspiration for Koshi and Vasa?
Yeah. Which is interesting, but Vasa's, fiery, right?
Yeah, but they said, her fire feather fell and melted the snow. So, maybe Koshi is more of, the wintry. So we don't really know.
Interesting. Well,
it's just theorizing, but yeah.
We'll find out. And basically the story ends, Cassian meets with Eris.
It's one last, little, end of term meeting.
Yeah. And of course, again, they talk about more. And, Eris says that he wants to explain it to her and not Cassian. So just more fucking confusing.
Again, the blue balls at this point are painful.
Yeah,
they're going to burst.
What happens?
I'm really heavily thinking it's going to be, the next book will be, revolving around those players. It'll be about Elaine, Tamlin, Lucian, Eris, Asriel.
Yeah, well, I guess we shall see. And, we started all this crazy shit in the springtime, and it's still spring. All is well. Nesta's happy. Nyx is alive. Nyx is the baby.
Oh, yes. Nyx is the name of Rhys and Feyre's child.
And, Nesta and Cassian talk about having a ceremony to commemorate their love and mating. And basically the story ends with Nesta saying that, she knows she's going to have bad days going forward, but, the life that she has is going to be worth it.
Right, which, fine. That's pretty accurate, again, depiction of depression. She's not all of a sudden healed and she's sounds good. She knows that she'll have hard days, but she's happy with where she's at. Her and Cassian are healthy and accepting of their relationship and their love. So I think, again, this book ends pretty happy and with loose ends tied, but also with the illusion,
there's still plot points to go into.
Yes, there's still the queens to deal with. There's still Koshi. And then, again, same thing. If next book is about the people I said, Lucian, I think that we'd learn more about Vasa because he's very entwined with them. So I think it's maybe more of these secondary players we haven't learned a lot about.
I think I'll be ready for the next book in about a year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, she's writing it.
Oh, she is apparently.
Remember? She sent me the DM and it's a quart of what?
Oh, yeah.
I really hope this episode worked, guys.
God, we might be pushed back a week. If not, if you're hearing this, amazing. It all went well. Or we just got so tired we just uploaded shitty quality. Whatever.
No, never. And so let's tell you guys where we're going next after this, now that ACOTAR is finally fucking done. So, as you guys know, or if you haven't, I'm sorry to spoil it for you, but we know that Crescent City and ACOTAR have a mashup, and so we wanted to go right into Crescent City. So we will be starting with Crescent City next week, and we will do all 3 books. It'll be fun to do Crescent City 3. It's going to be our live reactions. We have not yet read it, so it'll be really fun to do it kind of in the moment.
Yeah, all the emotions are going to be
fresh. And we won't be so fucking over it and hating our lives. So that'll be really fun. And so that'll be the next few weeks. We'll be covering that and deep dives. And then after that, we're done with fantasy for a while, which I'm kind of excited about. I'm curious to see. Yeah, it'll be good. And then, so you guys had voted on the thriller you want us to do next. So you said you wanted us to do a thriller next, and the one you voted on was Housemaid. So
excited for that.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for that. So it's gonna be a little thriller, and then it's gonna be a summer of fun. We'll get you guys more involved and more in the loop as we get there. But we have a lot of fun things waiting for you guys. So we're excited. I'm excited. Hallie's not.
I have mixed emotions. I think the content will be great, but reading
certain books.
I'm not gonna enjoy.
So those are our little hints for you guys. So so we will see you guys next week for the start of Crescent City. I think it'll be a nice little refreshing kind of reset, because though it is the same fantasy world, it's just a different vibe. So I think it'll, rejuvenate us,
I think so too.
which I'm excited for. I need it, especially after this whole like triple recording same episode. It really like wanted to test our fucking limits.
Exactly. But thank you guys for tuning in and
being patient with us.
Yeah, while we learn how to be podcasters.
We're trying.
Yeah, so this was episode 10, and we'll see you next week for episode 11, Crescent City 1.
Oh boy, see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.